But I would like to turn it over to our speaker for the day, and this is Kevin Meyers. Kevin Meyers is one of our employees here at Franklin. He works in IS, and I will let Kevin speak more about his background. So let's give a warm applause and a warm welcome for Kevin Meyers. Just a minute here, Kevin, and I'll pull up your presentation. Okay, go ahead.
Good afternoon. I'm honored to be here today to talk to you about the challenges that I've faced as an individual that's blind. And before I actually begin my presentation, as you'll notice up on the screen, it says Kevin Scott Meyers. Scott is my middle name, and there's going to be a couple of video clips in which you'll hear an announcer use the name Scotty or Scotty Meyers. And during those video clips that I'm participating in is when you're going to hear that. So just realize that is me. So where should I begin? I'm going to go back to just before the time I lost my sight. And at that time of my life, if I wasn't going out with my buddies painting the town, I was participating in the sport of stock outboard hydroplane boat racing. It was fast and exciting. I really enjoyed building my own motors, modifying my boat so that I could obtain that optimum speed on the race course. I just love to go fast. Did you put it up? The video?
Early, we just and we had a guy miss a buoy and spin out to Ted Anderson. He's in trouble. In the meantime, here comes the pack. Let's see the start. Very important. We're under fire.
Pretty exciting. Please ask me. Now, my first couple of years of racing, I wasn't very good. Matter of fact, if I couldn't win a race, my boat was constantly flipping. Every single race. Talk about a danger? Could be. Didn't bother me at all. I wasn't going to stop racing boats. I loved racing too much. So I started talking to some of my fellow boat racers, finding out if there's anything I could do to become a better boat racer. And I took some of their suggestions and started modifying my racing technique. I started to see some success. And in 1986, I won the state high point for the class that I raced in. And I was thinking, you know, the next season could be even better. I could even have a chance to win a national championship. Well, that next season...
You gotta figure Scotty Meyers to be the favorite in this one. He's won an awful lot of boat races in this class. We're only halfway through the race, and the way Meyers is past the rest of the field, he does have a chance at it. Hang in there, folks. Here they come down the front straightaway. Green flag, meaning one lap to go. It's Bill Walber. Look at this boat race. Scotty Meyers. Second corner on the last lap, but Meyers just shredded past Brent Wahlberg in the 39V. Coming down the main chute for the last time. Our starter, Pat Quigley, with the checkered flag in his hand, being displayed.
As I was saying, that next season started off great. As a matter of fact, I won the first 5 races that year. And where I said before, I thought I was going to have a chance to win a national championship, no. I was going to win a national championship hands down, and nobody was going to beat me. Nobody at all. At least.
Scotty, you all right?
That's what I thought. In my last race, I was thrown from my boat and struck in the head at a high rate of speed. I went from the world of sight to the world of complete darkness like that. Now what am I going to do? Am I going to be able to do anything? Am I just going to sit at home? Well, thanks to my family and friends, they kept me busy once I got out of the hospital. I was only in there for 2 weeks. But they kept me busy doing things, so I didn't just sit at home pondering about not having sight. And the 2 eye doctors I saw at the hospital, they told me there's no chance that they could restore my vision. That didn't stop me, though. I started to see doctor after doctor. I just knew one of them could fix my vision. Well, the 4th doctor I saw was at the Wisconsin Eye Institute. And I just had this gut feeling that he was going to tell me that he could fix my eyesight, and then everything would be back to the way it was, and life would be great. So I went there with my mother and one of my sisters, and he ran a bunch of tests on me, and he says, I'll get back to you in just a little bit to tell you what the results are. So he eventually comes back into the room, and I just had this huge smile on my face. I knew he was going to tell me some great news. So he starts explaining all the test results. And then he pauses. He didn't quite know what to say. And then he hems and haws. And finally he says, Kevin, I'm sorry, but there's nothing I can do. That smile disappeared from my face. I sunk in that chair. I didn't know what to say. He said, maybe 10 years, maybe 20, maybe 30. Most likely, it's not going to happen. I didn't know what to say. Finally, my mother said thank you to the doctor. We got up and left. And as soon as I got on the elevator and the door closed, I broke down. I started pounding on the wall. Why me? Why me? What did I do to deserve this? I didn't know what to do. Was I going to just sit at home and do nothing? Was somebody going to have to take care of me 24/7? This was hard on me, and just as hard as on my family. I didn't know what to do. And this went on for weeks and weeks, until one day I realized something. It's been a miracle. It's a miracle that I'm still alive. By all accounts, I should have been killed. I don't understand how anybody can get hit in the head like I did and survive. What I'm about to say is how I feel. You may have a different feeling about this, and that is okay. The only reason why I'm here is because of God. God realized my purpose here on earth was not over at all. God allowed me to walk, to talk, to think, and most of all, to be alive. Vision is only a part of me. It doesn't make every ounce of me up. There's so much more to who I am. Sure, vision is a big part of each and every one of us, and it's not the only thing. So what am I going to do? I realized it's up to me to figure it out. It's up to me to take that first step. Because if I don't take that first step, I'm not going anywhere. Sure, it's going to be a huge challenge. There's going to be a lot of odds against me because I don't have sight. But I have to figure it out. I have to figure out how I'm going to do it. And I may need some assistance. And thanks to my family and so many friends that has helped me so many times to be successful. So what was I going to do now? I enrolled into a rehab program. And in that program, I learned how to use my cane, how to read Braille, and I started to use personal computers. Now you're probably wondering, how in the world does a guy without sight use a personal computer? Well, it's pretty simple. There's this piece of software that's called a screen reader, and it reads to me what's on the screen. Now, it's not perfect. It's good enough for me to do many things I want to on a computer. So now I'm back to the same point I was before. What am I going to do now that the rehab program's over? Guess I got to take another first step. Believe me, this is going to continue to happen. So I did take that first step, and I had an interest in computers. So I started taking classes at MATC. And by the third class, programming in BASIC, I was hooked on computers. And that's when I decided to get a 4-year degree in computers at Milwaukee School of Engineering. Talk about another challenge. Talk about huge odds that I'm now faced with. First of all, the fact that MSOE is a rapid-paced environment. It's really difficult for anybody. And then you put on top of it the fact that I don't have sight adds more to that challenge. And then on top of that, they've never worked with an individual that's totally blind. So what am I going to do now? I got to take that first step again. So I talked to student support services at MSOE to see what they could do to help me out. Man, did they help me out a lot. I mean, just a ton. Now, when I say helped out, I'm not saying they did the work for me. They created the environment that allowed me to be successful. Like, they had students go with me to the library to find information so I could write a report or an article or whatever I needed the information for. Or they had their staff members reading quizzes or tests to me. I'd give them my answer, and they would write it down exactly the way I stated it. Now, my senior year at MSOE, I should back up one other step I should tell you about this other organization. It's called Audio and Braille Literacy Enhancement. They put 90% of my books on cassette tape while I was at MSOE. Yeah, cassette tapes. Back in the early 80s or late 80s, they didn't have CDs. Or if they did, they weren't used. So the dinosaur age is when we used cassette tapes. And they put, like I said, 90% of those books on cassette tape, which is a tremendous help so that I could read each and every one of the books that I needed to. And then my senior year, I thought it'd be a very good experience to work an internship. So I sent out many resumes, went on many job interviews, and going on those job interviews as a blind individual is another whole story in itself. So I did receive one offer, and that was from Metavante. And Metavante processes for many different banks around the country. I think now it's called FIS or FSSI or whatever. They're still there. And now it came pretty close to graduation. I wanted a full-time job, so I started sending out resumes again, going on job interviews, and I received one offer, and it was from Metavante. I felt that internship gave me the experience I needed to get that full-time job. And Metavante knew what I could do. And when I worked there, I was in what's called the card-based department, which handles the processing of ATM transactions and point-of-sale device transactions. Now, my job in particular was to, a lot of banks were converting onto the system, so I had to take the data from their current processor, run it through a program I had to write, and it would come out in the Metavante format. Now, I did that for about 7 years. And then I decided I wanted to do something a little bit different in computers. So I started applying for jobs again, and I received one offer. And that was from Northwestern Mutual. And I've been there ever since. It's 15 years, almost 15 years. It's an awesome company to work for, and I really love to do my job. I'm currently, or I should say advanced, to the position of Application Developer Senior Specialist for the POS Online applications, which is like loan and surrender, insurance history, insurance transaction, reinstatements, reversals, and a number of other ones. It's a great experience doing that, working with the business consultants and the business partners and so on. Now, also, one other thing I thought was pretty unique here at Northwestern Mutual is a blind policy owner was having problems using the NM Connect application. So the NM Connect team contacted me to show them how a screen reader would go through their application. And there were some big challenges in there. So instead of working with me constantly, they had to bring in a third-party vendor to get their application to work so a blind policy owner could use it. Then there are some other things I've done here. Like Mary said before, I was involved with the startup of the ERG. And currently what I'm working on, I'm the lead person on the project that will create these documents that have pictures in them and text so that I can read them of all the ADA entrances here at Northwestern Mutual. That way it's going to allow any disability to know where those ADA entrances are located, what to do to get into them, and then later down the road we're going to add some more to that so that they know which path they have to take to get to a specific area, because some of those entrances you got to come in, it's quite the trail, quite the journey to try to figure out how to get through. So we're going to be working on that as a second phase. And truthfully, you know, we're all faced with challenges here at Northwestern Mutual. And some of the challenges that I'm faced with are a couple applications that I have to deal with that my screen reading software has a very difficult time maneuvering through, or can't even maneuver through it at all. One of those or I should say, thanks to my coworkers, they're a big help in helping me either enter the data there or retrieving the data so that I could do my job successfully. In thinking about those experiences, it really shows the culture here at Northwestern Mutual is demonstrating diversity and inclusion. Now, when it comes outside of work, there's a lot of other things I like to do. I love to go downhill skiing, ride tandem bikes, play go-ball, and many other things. And one of the things that I always found out is every time I'd go on these tandem bike rides, I always wanted to go faster and faster and faster. So one day, after I fractured my ankle from downhill skiing, I was kind of laid up and couldn't do too much, so I was out at this website called usaba.org, which stands for United States Association of Blind Athletes. And I'm checking out their site, and they had a link there to another page that was called Tandem Development Racing Camp. Racing? I like that word. Tandems? Who races tandem bikes? I never heard of that before. And I thought, I'm going to check this out. So I talked to the coordinator of the camp, found out what needed to be done to get prepared for that camp, and I started working out as soon as I was in a boot cast from that ankle fracture. I was starting to ride a stationary bike because I wanted to go to that camp. So I really increased my workouts, and I applied for that camp, and I was accepted. And the camp was totally awesome. Just absolutely awesome. I mean, they showed us exactly what the best way to ride a tandem on a recreational basis, and they really showed us what we had to do to race tandem bikes. And I loved that part the most. It was the speed I was looking for. It was great. Now, camp was in 2008, and I started racing in 2009, and I've been doing it ever since. And my pilot, Bob Springer out of Sturtevant, Wisconsin, me and him have won 3 national championships on the track. You can see the one jersey here. This is the jersey we get when we're up on the podium, the highest point with the gold medal. And then the one over there is the national championship jersey we get from our team, Will and Sprocket. So, and then also you can see in the middle of the room here, that is the tandem we won the national championships on. What I call the chariot of fire. And it takes total, true human power to fuel that bike to victory. And that's what we've done numerous times. It's not just an easy pedal. It takes a lot of effort to win a national championship. And that's what I've always wanted to do. I mean, I didn't do it when I was racing boats. And when I did the first time back in 2012, that's when I realized I finally caught up with one of the dreams in my life, winning a national championship. I didn't do it in racing, but I did it on the tandem. And that was with the help of my pilot. Couldn't do it on my own. Kind of hard to ride the bike by myself. So as it really comes down to it, what I've really learned here is that just me, myself, it's taken a lot of effort to do things. Nothing has ever come to me easy. Nothing. I've always had to put 100+% in everything I do. My jobs, the schools I've gone to, anything. Racing tandem bikes. It doesn't matter. Nothing has ever been handed to me. I've always had to put in that effort. I've always had to take that first step. I've always had to ask for assistance. I've always had to ask questions. That has helped me be successful. And I want you to remember the same thing. Remember, it's up to you to take that first step. It's up to you to ask questions. It's up to you to ask for assistance. And don't ever be afraid to do so. We're all here together in everything that we're working on. We are the team. So in closing, I just have a few thoughts. Henry Ford said, whenever you feel the odds are against you, remember, when an airplane takes off, it's going into the wind, never with it. That is a lot of odds. Those are a lot of odds that I had to face without sight, learning how to function, learning how to do anything now that I didn't have sight. It's something that I have to continually work on. Sometimes it gets frustrating. Sometimes I have to figure what have higher priorities. And I can't do everything. And when my heart and soul are really into it, I know I will be successful. And finally, what I always say at the very end of each one of my presentations is to create a vision, take action, and make a difference. That will make a difference in your life as well as the lives of others.